My name is Adam Franklin. I'm a former high school history teacher. I was a product and content leader at Nearpod. And today I'm building a student practice platform called StudyBuds. But first, I have a trivia question, and I actually have some candy bars to hand out. Can anybody tell me, what is a species of mammal that lays eggs? There you go. I heard one back there too. I'm not going to launch it that far. Maybe just pass one back. Thank you. Also, echidna. Nobody ever says echidna, but echidna is another one. That was a kind of fun and engaging exercise, right? It was not, however, a very educationally nutritious exercise. It's not an impactful learning experience. And the research shows us that unless you are actively encoding the material while you're practicing, you are highly unlikely to actually remember what it is you were practicing. So given this, why do we use student practice products that leverage the same mechanics and incentives as my trivia question? Why don't we push students to think harder while they're practicing if we know that's the only means for them to remember something? And the answer is because it's really hard to get students to think deeply while they're practicing. Humans in general opt out of thinking deeply if they can, if we give them the means to opt out. StudyBuds inspires students to think deeply during their practice using learning science. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, self-explanation is one strategy that's been proven to lead to deeper understanding and better retention. If you've ever tried to explain something you know out loud only to realize what you don't know, that's exactly that. It's a really nutritional exercise, but it's hard to get a classroom full of students to self-explain consistently. Peer teaching is a strategy that can inspire more students to self-explain, asking them to teach each other what they've learned. If multiple choice trivia is really low nutritional value, peer teaching is about as nutritious as it gets. But it takes a lot of effort and careful planning to set up peer teaching experiences. It's really hard to do at scale. Now, in the early 2000s, researchers at Stanford and Vanderbilt built a product called Betty's Brain. And in this product, instead of teaching each other, kids taught an artificial character named Betty. You can see her in the bottom left corner of that screen there. They'd program her knowledge and watch her apply what she's learned and unlock a lot of learning benefits from the exercise, but it was a relatively limited experience, and it wasn't necessarily maximizing student engagement. To me, this is all really exciting research, but hasn't yet been combined in a really effective way. Now, with the advent of GPT and other LLMs in 2023, it led to a moment of clarity for me. What if instead of learning from a bot, which I frankly don't think students should do, it's a little bit dystopian in my opinion, what if instead we empowered students to create and teach their own characters as a means to practice? We're leveraging the learning science we just went through and leveraging the capabilities of LLMs that they're actually really good at. Holding a conversation, being curious, asking questions to enable teachers to leverage learning by teaching at scale. And this is what StudyBuds provides. So let's take a look at what the StudyBuds practice experience looks like for a student. So students join the experience by entering their name, and then once they enter their name, they're going to select which character they're going to teach. Ultimately, they're given a choice of 5 characters to teach from. Each has its own personality and character traits. Let's say for the sake of today, I'm going to select Hammy, I'm going to go yellow, and now I'm going to enter the teaching environment. In this environment, students are meant to complete 3 milestones. First, to diagnose the error, then to provide evidence. I would start by introducing myself to Hammy, and then Hammy's going to introduce himself and provide a paragraph that he wrote in class yesterday. Now, this was a really intentional choice that we made. Language models have a really hard time being broadly teachable. If you ask GPT to just be teachable today, it will likely help you to the point of reducing the rigor of that exercise. If instead, you can program an LLM to embody a specific misconception, which is what we're doing here, they can maintain the rigor of the experience with much higher fidelity. So in this case, Hammy is saying, I wrote a paragraph for class yesterday that contains an error. My teacher told me something is wrong with it. Can you help me figure out what that is? The student, in this case, for their first milestone, needs to diagnose that error. They can leverage resources that we've curated to inform them of what that error is, or they might know just offhand, not all the interactions between Lewis and Clark and the Native Americans were positive. I have successfully, in this case, diagnosed the error that Hammy has, but the next milestone for me to complete is to provide a piece of evidence. And this, again, was another intentional choice where we're curating primary and secondary sources for students to teach with. We're scaffolding the act of teaching by providing resources that directly address the the misconception that Hammy possesses. So in this case, I might find a news pamphlet or a secondary article, or I might find the diary of Meriwether Lewis that illustrates a not so positive interaction. Students can annotate these resources and share them with Hammy as a means to teach. But what I like about what we've built is that Hammy, when I share with him this screenshot, is not just going to accept this evidence at face value. He's going to push me to justify why the evidence I've shared connects to the claim that I'm making. And that's essentially what claim evidence reasoning questions are. We need to ensure students are taking ownership of the evidence they're sharing. And so in this case, I'm being pushed to justify why the evidence I've shared applies to the claim that I make. And I will graduate to achieving the second milestone in this module. The third milestone is simply to provide another piece of evidence. So I could go back to the list as far as what my options are available. Not all evidence is rated equally, though. If I had, for example, shared evidence from the movie trailer about Charlton Heston being Lewis and Clark, Hammy would push me about the historical inaccuracy and the fact that that's not maybe something that I should be used to convince him of my point. Now, that was the student experience. The teacher perspective, they can see what students are completing which milestones as a high level. They'd be able to understand at a class level, are we getting what we're meant to be practicing here? But teachers can also click into individual reports to see at a more granular level what students are understanding in this practice environment. And because we're coaxing more reasoning out of students in the teaching environment, it stands to reason we can give teachers more information about what students do and don't understand based on their participation in a StudyBuds module. So this is a module that any teacher can create. You can go to studybuds.io today, create a free account, and do exactly what we just did. You can make a module yourself if you'd like. You would detail the misconception that the character holds, the way they present that misconception. It can be either in a paragraph or an image form, perhaps a concept map. You can customize the milestones of that assessment. So in this case, we've built a module that was essentially a claim evidence reasoning question reverse engineered, but you could just as easily design a module that follows an AP short answer question trajectory and align any module to the types of assessment or practice you're looking to have students complete, but they're scaffolded and made more accessible in the StudyBuds environment. So maybe I change the criteria for success for this specific milestone. I'd be able to also add those resources that are pinned for the student to teach with. They can be a PDF, a URL, a video, whatever would be most useful for a student to teach with, you can supply them for in the teaching environment. These are materials you can create yourself, but we also have a pretty wide library of public materials. We're adapting several HQIM resources, so Open SciEd modules are in there, Success Academy's social studies curriculum we have modules aligned to, and we're looking to grow this library as well. So part of me being here, I'm looking for more ideas as far as what are the content you would like to see in a StudyBuds environment that could help make your practice more productive. Either we can build it together, you can build it, or I'll build it for you. I'd love to hear more about what you'd like to do on the StudyBuds platform. And again, this was all available to do for free today. This is something we've been testing with individual students in classrooms across the country. And we've been finding some really exciting evidence of productive struggle. Kids feeling challenged, but feeling motivated and supported to step up to that challenge. And only when that challenge exists can we ensure they're actually going to remember what it is they're practicing. Teachers are recognizing the value in that sense as well. All the students were trying to complete it. Nobody was asking to go back out to recess. And because of their frustration, they would not forget to account for acceleration due to gravity in this case. But that should be scaled across any StudyBuds module. As far as what the future holds for us, we intend to make the experience more inclusive by supporting multimodal inputs and outputs. Imagine having a conversation with Hammy instead of needing to rely on text chat if you prefer. We want to expand some of the gamification aspects of the platform, customize your character, grow a relationship, earn rewards, and evolve like Pokemon or Tamagotchi. We want to map into more and more popular OER resources. So we're working with PhET right now. We're adapting content from Open SciEd, and we'd love to continue growing that library. And then lastly, what gets me most excited, some of the frontier capabilities of LLMs like real-time monitoring and participation. Imagine a StudyBuds assignment where the student and Hammy are creating something together. Maybe they're analyzing lab data and making a lab report together, or annotating a primary source together where Hammy's helping you directly on the source as well. This is all stuff we're going to explore in the coming months, and we're working on proof of concepts as well. So that's it. Help me help you make practice more productive. Again, what I showed you today is available for free at studybuds.org or studybuds.io. They both work. If you're interested, you can go today and test out a module for yourself. Feel that productive struggle. If you're feeling spicier, work with me to make something for your classroom, and let's prove that this is an efficacious product. Come to G20 and stop by the Teaching Lab Studio booth. I'd love to talk more about any of these aspects, specifically gamification, other things we could adapt as far as interactions or curricula we could support. And then lastly, email me at adam.franklin@teachinglabstudio.com. I'd love to work with you or an interested school or district to pilot and adapt curriculum that would be most meaningful for you to take advantage of. The QR code will send you to our site. Please take a photo of this slide if you want to keep it for posterity and reach out to me. Thank you so much for your time. I hope to talk to you soon.